Lieutenant Jack Carter stood still in his black and silver uniform, his eyes scanning the crowd. Around him, tall alien guards with colorful armor stood near the wide marble steps. They were Virexians, tall and slim creatures with glowing blue skin and sharp crystal-like eyes. Jack was the only human here. He knew they didn't fully trust him. Humans were new in the Galactic Union. Today was the Peace Summit. Important leaders from many alien planets had come to the Grand Palace on a Virexia. The hall was huge, with floating lights, golden pillars, and a soft humming sound that came from the energy walls. Everyone was waiting for one person, Queen Seralia. Jack stood near the royal stage. His job was simple: protect the queen and keep his mouth shut. But deep inside, he felt nervous. Something was off. He had been a soldier for a long time. He knew how danger smelled. And today, it was strong in the air. Then she arrived. Queen Seralia entered the hall with slow, powerful steps. Her gown was made of silver threads that shimmered like stars. Her crown glowed softly with 7 small energy crystals. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp. She stood in the center of the stage and raised her hands. "Today, we speak of peace," she said in her native Virexian tongue. A translator drone floated above her, changing her words into many alien languages. "We must build trust. No more wars. No more lies." Some leaders nodded. Others stayed silent. The room was full of tension. Suddenly, Jack's ears caught a strange sound, a low zing. His eyes moved fast. A shadow in the upper corner of the hall had moved. Then, something flashed, fast and small. An arrow. It was flying straight toward the queen. There was no time to think. Jack threw himself forward. His body slammed into Queen Seralia's side, knocking her down. At the same moment, the arrow struck his upper shoulder. He grunted in pain and fell beside her. Screams filled the hall. Virexian guards ran forward. Some aimed weapons into the air. Others stood around the queen, forming a tight circle. A red, alert light began flashing across the ceiling. Jack lay on the smooth white floor, breathing hard. His vision blurred. His shoulder burned like fire. The arrow was still there, stuck deep in his flesh. Black liquid dripped from it. Queen Seralia knelt beside him. Her eyes were wide. "Why did you do that?" she asked, her voice shaking. Jack tried to speak. His voice was weak. "Protect the queen. That's my job." Then, darkness pulled him under. When Jack opened his eyes again, everything was white and soft. He was in a healing pod. His shoulder was bandaged with a glowing blue wrap. Tubes were connected to his arm, feeding him medicine. 2 Virexian doctors stood nearby, looking worried. A third one tapped on a floating screen. "He is awake," one doctor said. "Strange," the second replied. "His body is resisting the poison. Better than expected." Queen Seralia entered the room. She wore a simpler robe now, but she still looked like a ruler. Jack tried to sit up, but pain shot through his body. "Stay down," she said. Her voice was calm but firm. Jack gave a weak smile. "You okay, Your Majesty?" She looked at him for a moment. Then she nodded. "Yes, thanks to you." There was silence. Finally, she asked, "Why did you risk your life for me, human? You barely know me." Jack blinked. "I didn't do it for you. I did it because it was right." "No one should die trying to make peace." Seralia looked thoughtful. "Among my people, we do not often see such actions. Some think your kind is too emotional, too soft." Jack laughed a little. "Maybe, but sometimes being soft saves lives." The queen turned to the doctors. "Leave us." The doctors bowed and left. Seralia sat beside Jack's pod. "The poison was made by the Drexar. They hate my people. This was not just an attack. It was a message." They want war. Jack's face grew serious. Then we can't let them win. We need to find who did this. The Queen looked at him carefully. Your bravery has changed how many see humans. You have earned something important today. What's that? Jack asked. She leaned slightly closer. My debt. Jack didn't understand. Debt? In Virexian law, if someone saves a royal life, the royal owes them a blood promise. That means I must protect you, honor you, and help you, no matter what, until that promise is complete. Jack stared at her, surprised. Sounds like a big deal. It is, she replied. Jack smiled. Well, glad I was useful. She did not smile back, but her eyes softened. Rest now, Jack Carter. You may be more important than you know. Outside the room, guards and leaders whispered. Some called him a hero, others called him a fool. But one thing was clear. This human had done what no alien dared. He took the poisoned arrow meant for a queen, and now nothing in the galaxy would be the same. End of Part 1. The days passed slowly. Jack Carter stayed inside the healing chamber, his body fighting the strange poison. The Drexar venom was unlike anything human doctors had ever seen. It attacked his nerves, his heart, and even his thoughts. He had strange dreams, fire, shadows, and glowing alien eyes, but he didn't give up. Queen Saralia visited him every evening. She didn't say much at first. She just sat in silence beside his pod, watching him with calm, unreadable eyes. Jack found it strange. Why would a queen, ruler of an entire world, waste her time sitting beside a human soldier? But she came, every day. One evening, Jack was finally strong enough to sit up. His skin was pale and his shoulder still ached, but he could speak clearly now. Saralia entered the room as usual. She carried a small silver dish with 2 cups. Jack raised an eyebrow. You brought drinks? It is called Sina, a Virexian. Healing tea? She said. You have earned more than our medicine. You have earned our traditions. She poured a cup and handed it to him. The tea was warm, sweet, and glowing slightly. It tastes like starlight, Jack said, smiling. Saralia didn't laugh, but a corner of her lips moved, almost a smile. Why do you come here? Jack asked softly. I'm just a human, a soldier. Nothing special. The Queen stared at her cup. Because I made a promise. You mean the blood promise? Yes, but not only that, she said. Her voice was lower now, more personal. You did something no one expected. You saved me without fear, without thinking of yourself. In my world, such acts are rare. Jack leaned back. Where I come from, we protect people. It doesn't matter if they're kings, queens, or strangers. She looked at him, curious. Even if it cost your life? He nodded. Yes, that's what makes us human. Saralia stood. Then maybe the galaxy has something to learn from your kind. Later that night, a group of alien leaders gathered in the Queen's war room. The room was round, with glowing stars floating above the center table, showing all the known worlds. Jack was allowed to attend, though some aliens didn't like it. What is he doing here? Asked a large, red-scaled alien called Jarnock. Humans are new, unproven. He is here because he took a Drexar arrow meant for me, Saralia said coldly. Speak again, and I will question your loyalty. Jarnock went quiet. A Virexian general stepped forward. We traced the weapon. The arrow was made on Drexar Prime. The poison was mixed only in their shadow labs. So it was the Drexar, Jack said. Why attack now? To break the summit, Saralia answered. To stop peace. If the summit fails, the war continues, and in war, the Drexar profit. Another alien leader, a green-skinned diplomat, nodded. They sell weapons, steal from weak planets, and control the black markets. Jack frowned. Then we have to stop them before they attack again. Saralia looked at him. I agree, but we must act in secret. If we attack now, others may see us as the aggressors. She pointed to the floating stars. We must find their base, collect proof, and expose them to the Union. Jack stepped forward. I'll help. Some gasped. One laughed. You can barely stand, human, someone said. Jack stood taller. I may be weak now, but I'm still a soldier. I know how to track, fight, and think like the enemy. Saralia raised a hand. He comes with me. More silence, then nods. The next morning, Jack stood on a landing platform. A black Virexian ship waited nearby, sleek and sharp like a flying arrow. Around him, a small team of soldiers prepared weapons and supplies. These were the Queen's personal guards, tall, serious, and loyal only to her. Jack wore a new uniform, part Virexian armor, part human tech. It felt strange but strong. Saralia approached in her travel robes. Are you sure you are ready? Jack smiled. I've faced worse. Poison's just another scar. She looked at him carefully. This mission is dangerous. We go beyond our borders. If we fail, no one will come for us. I understand, Jack said, but I didn't come all this way to hide behind walls. She nodded. Good. The team entered the ship. As it rose into the sky, Jack looked down at the shining city of Virexia. He had only been here for a few weeks, but something about it felt familiar now. Maybe it was the Queen. Maybe it was the mission. Maybe it was the feeling that he was finally doing something that mattered. Hours later, in the shadows of space, the Queen's ship flew silently through dark asteroid fields and old war zones. They had one lead, a Drexar spy who had vanished near the old moon base of Tarak 7. As they approached the moon, Saralia stood beside Jack on the viewing deck. Do you regret it? She asked. Regret what? Taking the arrow. Jack looked out at the stars. No, I'd do it again. She turned to him. Then understand this, Jack Carter. You are no longer just a soldier. You are part of something greater now. Jack looked at her. What do you mean? She gave a small smile. You carry the promise of peace and the burden of a queen's debt. The Queen's ship, Silent Star, moved quietly through space. It passed dead moons, broken satellites, and floating wreckage from old wars. Inside, the mood was tense. Everyone knew the mission was dangerous. Jack Carter sat near the front window, watching the stars. He still felt weak, but the pain in his shoulder had become a dull ache. His mind, however, was sharp. He was thinking like a soldier again. Queen Saralia entered the control room. Her guards bowed, but she waved her hand. No need for formality, she said. We're not in court now. Jack stood up. Any new updates? Saralia nodded. Our spy drone found movement near Tarak 7. A hidden signal came from an old Drexar base underground. It matches the code of the assassin's poison maker. Jack's eyes narrowed. So, that's where we start. Saralia looked at him with a serious face. This mission is not about revenge. We want proof. We must show the Galactic Union that the Drexar broke the peace. Jack understood. We find the assassin. We find the truth. The team landed near the old moon base. Tarak 7 was cold and lifeless. The ground was covered in gray dust. The sky above was black, filled with stars and broken ship parts floating like ghosts. Jack and Saralia walked together at the front of the group. Behind them were 4 Virexian guards, silent and ready. The base entrance was hidden behind a rock wall. Jack found it first. Looks like a blast door, he said. Half buried, but still working. He placed a small device on the door. It buzzed and blinked green. The door opened with a low hiss. Inside, the air was stale. The walls were Old metal scratched and burned. It was quiet, too quiet. Saralia whispered, "Weapons ready." They moved slowly through the dark halls. Jack noticed broken machines, bloodstains, and Drexar writing on the walls. It wasn't just a base. It was once a torture chamber. "This place is evil," Jack muttered. Suddenly, a noise echoed from deeper inside. They followed it. In a side room, they found a small Drexar, a scientist. He was cornered, shaking, with a strange device in his claws. "Don't move!" Jack shouted. The Drexar hissed. "You're too late! The plan has already begun!" Jack stepped forward. "You made the poison, didn't you?" The Drexar laughed. "Yes, and there's more. The Queen was just the first target. Soon, war will return to the stars." Saralia stepped in front of Jack. "Tell us everything, or I end this now." The Drexar looked at her and sneered. "You think you rule the galaxy, but the Drexar, we thrive in chaos." Jack raised his weapon. "Talk! Now!" Finally, the Drexar gave in. He told them everything. The poisoned arrow was just the beginning. A secret group of Drexar leaders had planned attacks across 5 planets. The goal, break the peace, blame it on the Virexians, and restart the galactic war. In war, the Drexar would gain power, sell weapons, and rise again. The scientist handed them a data chip. "This holds the list of targets. Take it if you dare." As Jack took the chip, an alarm rang across the base. "Trap!" Saralia shouted. From the shadows, Drexar guards appeared. Dozens of them. They were ready for a fight. Blasters fired. The hallway lit up with red and blue lights. Jack ducked behind a wall and returned fire. He moved fast, protecting the Queen at all times. One Virexian. Guard fell. Another blocked an attack meant for Saralia. Jack grabbed Saralia's arm. "This way! We need to get out!" They ran down a side tunnel, avoiding fire. Behind them, the last 2 guards held the line, buying time. Jack found a ladder and climbed fast. Saralia followed without a word. Above, they reached a metal hatch. Jack slammed it open. Cold air rushed in. They were outside again. The ship was just ahead. "Run!" Jack shouted. They sprinted. Behind them, Drexar warriors chased, shooting wildly. The pilot saw them and lowered the ramp. Jack helped Saralia aboard, then turned and fired at the closest. "Enemy! Get us out of here!" Saralia ordered. The ship rose into the air just as a missile exploded behind them. The blast threw Jack off his feet. Saralia grabbed his hand and pulled him inside. They were safe. For now. Back in the ship, Jack sat on the floor, breathing hard. Saralia stood above him. "You saved me again," Jack smiled. "Just doing my job." She looked at him quietly. "No, you're doing more than that." Jack reached into his pocket and gave her the data chip. "This has everything. We need to stop the attacks." Saralia nodded. "Yes, we'll send it to the Union Council." Jack leaned back. "Do you think they'll believe us?" "They will," she said, "because this time a human and a queen brought the truth together." That night the ship flew through calm space. The stars outside were peaceful, but inside, both Jack and Saralia knew the war was not over. The Drexar would strike again, but now the galaxy had seen something new, a human soldier willing to bleed. For an alien queen, and a queen willing to fight beside a human. It was the start of something greater, and it had only just begun. The Queen's ship, Silent Star, flew fast through the stars. Inside, the crew was quiet, but focused. Everyone had one goal now: stop the Drexar before they attacked again. Jack Carter stood near the command table. The galaxy map floated above, it like a glowing web. Red dots showed the Drexar's planned attack points, 5 planets across the Union. Jack pointed at the first one. Cylon 3. It's a peaceful farming world. No defense systems. Queen Saralia stood beside him, her face calm but serious. They'll strike there first. It's the easiest target. And if Cylon 3 falls, others will panic. Jack nodded. We can't wait. We need to warn the Union Council. Saralia turned to her pilot. Send the proof. Encrypt it. Make sure it reaches the council fast. The pilot gave a short bow. Yes, my queen. Jack looked at Saralia. What if they don't believe us? They will, she said. The chip holds Drexar codes, attack maps, and voices of their leaders. If the council ignores it, then peace is already broken. A few hours later, the reply came. The council thanked Queen Saralia and confirmed the information was true. They promised to act, but said it would take days to prepare defenses across 5 planets. We don't have days, Jack said. The Drexar will hit Cylon 3 before then. Saralia looked at her guards. Then we'll go ourselves. The guards were surprised. Your Majesty, it's too risky, she shook her head. We are warriors. We do not wait for others to protect the weak. Jack smiled. You sound more human every day. She glanced at him. And you sound more Virexian. The ship changed course and jumped into hyperspace. Within hours, they reached Cylon 3. The planet below was green and full of life. Small towns, wind turbines, and blue lakes covered the land. The people here were farmers, teachers, and builders. They had no army. The Silent Star landed near the main village. The local leader, an old man with gray skin and kind eyes, met them. We saw your message, he said, but we don't have weapons. We don't even have walls. Jack walked with him through the fields. Then we'll protect you. We just need a place to set traps, hide lookouts, and plan defense. The old man nodded. You have it. For the next day, Jack, Saralia, and her guards helped the people prepare. They hid motion mines near the forest. They taught the villagers to build shields and use stun sticks. Jack worked with the young ones, showing them how to move quietly and stay alert. Saralia, too, worked without rest. She stood beside farmers in the heat. She gave food to the workers. She treated wounded hands with healing salve. The people watched her with surprise. She's not like other rulers, someone whispered. No, Jack said. She's better. Night came. Then silence. Then fire in the sky. Drexar dropships entered the atmosphere. 4 black ships, fast and silent, landed near the edge of the village. Jack raised his weapon. Positions! Villagers hid inside stone buildings. Guards took cover behind crates and walls. Saralia stood beside Jack, her sword in hand. It glowed with blue energy. The Drexar came. Dozens of them, tall and dark, with glowing red armor and sharp weapons. They moved like shadows. Jack whispered, Wait, wait. The first Drexar stepped onto a pressure mine. Boom! The explosion shook the ground. Fire lit the sky. Now! Jack shouted. Energy blasts flew through the air. Saralia jumped forward with her sword, cutting through Drexar ranks with skill and speed. Jack covered her, shooting with perfect aim. The battle was short but fierce. The villagers fought bravely. Even the children helped by tossing stun grenades from rooftops. The Drexar didn't expect resistance. Soon the ground was full of fallen Drexar. The rest ran back to their ships, but only one escaped. The people cheered. Jack stood with his hands on his knees, breathing hard. Saralia wiped her blade and looked at him. Victory, Jack smiled. For now. The next morning, Union ships arrived. They scanned the area and confirmed the Drexar attack. This time, the Union believed everything. A council message came through. Because of Queen Saralia and Lieutenant Jack Carter, a war has been stopped. You have the thanks of the entire Galactic Union. The villagers cheered again. But Saralia stayed quiet. Jack noticed. What's wrong? She looked at him with soft eyes. We won today, but the Drexar will not stop. They will strike again, in the shadows. Jack nodded. Then we'll be ready. She turned to him. He stepped closer, I'm not leaving, not yet. Not while there's work to do. Her expression changed. A small smile appeared. You are no longer just a protector, Jack. You are something more. Jack shrugged. Maybe. But I still follow orders. She raised an eyebrow. Even mine? Especially yours. That night, a celebration filled the village. Fires burned bright. Music played. Food was shared. Jack sat near a group of children, telling them stories of Earth. Saralia stood nearby, watching with a strange look on her face. One of pride and something else she didn't fully understand. Honor. Respect. Maybe even something deeper. But far away, on a cold, dark planet, the Drexar leaders met again. The human and the queen have become a threat, one growled. Then we must destroy them both, said another. A shadowy figure stepped forward. Send the assassin. This time, do not fail. The morning sky over Cylon 3 was bright and peaceful. Birds flew across green fields. Children laughed in the village square. Jack Carter walked with Queen Saralia through a quiet garden. Flowers from Earth and Vyrexia grew side by side. But Jack's eyes were sharp. He watched every shadow, every tree. Still alert? Saralia asked. Always, Jack replied. Peace doesn't last forever. She looked at him. You're right. We've stopped one attack. But I feel something darker is coming. They paused near a small fountain. Jack bent to touch the cool water. Just then, his earpiece buzzed. It was the guard captain. Lieutenant Carter, urgent message. Our radar caught something. Unidentified ship entered orbit and vanished. It used stealth tech. Jack's heart tightened. How long ago? 10 minutes. He looked at Saralia. We need to get inside, now! But it was too late. A sharp crack filled the air. A flash of light exploded nearby. Jack pulled Saralia down just as a dark figure dropped from the trees. It was fast, wearing black Drexar, armor with glowing red lines. Jack fired. The figure dodged and threw a small orb. Smoke exploded everywhere. In the chaos, Jack coughed and reached for Saralia, but she was gone. By the time the guards arrived, the queen had vanished. All that was left was a scorched patch of grass and Jack's dropped weapon. He stood still, breathing hard. The guard captain shouted, We failed! They took the queen! Jack's face was like stone. No, we haven't failed yet. I'll get her back. An hour later, Jack stood in the war room, looking at maps and energy readings. The Drexar ship had jumped to a hidden system, one far from patrol routes. This is a trap, the Vyrexian general warned. They want you to follow. Jack nodded. I know. Then why go? Jack looked at the stars. Because she would come for me. The silent star flew alone through deep space. Jack wore full armor now, lightweight but strong. A small team of elite guards joined him, but he gave one order. Do not interfere unless I fail. They reached the Drexar base. It was hidden inside a dead asteroid. The ship couldn't land, so Jack used a stealth pod and entered through a narrow vent. Inside, the base was dark and cold. Drexar voices echoed through the metal halls. Jack moved like a shadow, following. The signal from the Queen's pendant. It had a tracker built into its crystal. He found her in a small chamber, chained to a wall. Her crown was gone, but her eyes were still full of fire. Jack, she said softly. He stepped in, blaster ready. Hold on, I'm getting you out. But before he could move, a deep voice spoke. I knew you would come, human. From the shadows stepped a tall Drexar assassin, larger than the others. His armor was thick and his claws were long and sharp. His face was hidden behind a silver mask. I am Varnak, he said. I poisoned the arrow. Now I finished the job. Jack didn't wait. He fired. Varnak rolled aside and threw a knife. Jack ducked. The two began a fast, brutal fight. Blades clashed, sparks flew. The room echoed with shouts and heavy breathing. Jack took a hit on the shoulder but kept going. He Fought with everything he had, training, anger, and heart. Finally, he landed a strong punch. Varnak crashed into the wall. Jack raised his weapon. "For the Queen," he said, and fired. The assassin fell. Jack rushed to Saralia. "Can you walk?" She nodded. "Yes, let's finish this." They ran through the base, taking out guards and setting charges. Jack placed small bombs at key points. If they couldn't stop the Drexar with words, they would stop them with fire. They reached the ship just as alarms screamed. The Silent Star pulled them aboard and jumped to hyperspace. Behind them, the Drexar base exploded, lighting up the dead asteroid like a dying star. Back on Vyrexia, the people celebrated the Queen's return. Flowers were thrown. Music filled the air. But Saralia didn't smile. Inside the palace, she met with Jack alone. "You came for me," she said quietly. "You'd have done the same," he replied. She looked into his eyes. "No, I would have done more. And now, I must." Jack looked confused. "What do you mean?" She stepped closer. "You're more than a protector. You're a symbol now, of honor, of peace, of hope." He nodded slowly. "And?" She took a deep breath. "And I want you to stay, at my side, as more than a soldier." Jack's eyes widened. "You mean?" "Yes," she said. "Be my advisor, my shield, my voice in the Union, maybe even something more." He looked at her, unsure. "You're a queen, and you are the one who took a poisoned arrow for me, faced an army for me, and came into the heart of darkness just to pull me back." Jack smiled. "Then I guess I'm staying." Outside, the people cheered. Inside, a new bond was formed. Not just between two people, but between two worlds. Humanity had earned its place, and Jack Carter had earned the Queen's heart. The stars above Vyrexia shone brighter than ever before. The war had been stopped. The Drexar base was destroyed, and peace, once again, returned to the galaxy. Inside the palace, everything had changed. Jack Carter stood on the balcony of his new quarters, wearing Vyrexian robes mixed with Earth design. The cool wind touched his face. Far below, the city lights of Vyrexia glowed like a sea of fireflies. Behind him, the door opened. Queen Saralia stepped into the moonlight. She was dressed not as a ruler now, but as a friend. Simple robes, no crown. "You're awake early," she said. Jack smiled without turning. "Couldn't sleep. Too quiet." She came and stood beside him. "That's the sound of peace, Jack." He looked at her. "Feels strange. After everything, I don't know what to do next." "You already did what mattered," she replied. "You saved more than a queen. You saved trust between species." Jack turned to her. "That's not something I ever expected. I joined the Union forces to protect Earth. I didn't think I'd be here, on a foreign world, standing beside a queen." Saralia looked at him, her voice softer now. "You are not foreign anymore. Vyrexia is your home, if you want it to be." Jack was quiet. The stars above blinked, waiting for his answer. Later that day, the Union Council held a grand assembly. Leaders from over 50 alien worlds gathered in a great hall shaped like a star. Lights danced on the high ceiling. Holograms showed the faces of those who could not attend in person. Queen Saralia walked to the center, with Jack beside her. A loud voice spoke, "Queen Saralia, the Council thanks you for your brave efforts, and we honor the human who stood beside you." Jack stepped forward. Another voice said, "Lieutenant Jack Carter, Earthborn soldier, you showed courage, loyalty, and heart. What reward do you ask?" Jack looked around the hall. All eyes were on him. His voice was steady. "I ask for nothing for myself, but I do ask for one thing: unity." Whispers rose. He continued, "The Drexar tried to break us apart by using fear, but we stood together. We protected each other. That's the future I want to see. Humans, Virexians, and all other species working side by side. Silence followed. Then, one by one, the leaders stood and clapped. The Union president raised a hand. Then it is decided. From this day, humanity is granted full respect in the Galactic Union, and Lieutenant Carter will serve as the official human advisor to the Queen of Virexia. That night, fireworks lit the sky. Music filled the air. Jack sat near a warm fire in the palace garden, watching children dance. He felt peace, not just around him, but inside his heart. Saralia joined him again. She handed him a cup of Sina tea. "You made a good speech," she said. Jack sipped the tea. "I meant every word." She looked at him closely. "And now, I ask you something. Not as a queen, as someone who owes you more than words." He looked into her eyes. "What is it?" "I want you to stay," she said softly. "Not just as an advisor, not just as a symbol, but as the person who stood with me when no one else did." Jack's breath caught for a second. "You don't mean—" "I do," she said. "I want you to be part of my life, not because of duty or laws or promises, but because you make me feel like more than a ruler. You make me feel human." Jack set down his cup. "I was waiting for you to say that." They both laughed. Quiet, honest laughter. No royal guards, no pressure. Just two souls who had walked through danger together and come out stronger. Weeks passed. Jack began his new role as advisor to the Queen. He helped form peace plans, trained young soldiers, and built bridges between humans and aliens. He also started programs where humans and Virexians studied each other's history and languages. People respected him, not because he was powerful, but because he had heart. Saralia ruled with more balance now. She listened, not just as a queen, but as a friend, a partner, and a leader who believed in unity. Together, they faced new challenges, but not as enemies. Always side by side. One day, while walking through the gardens, Saralia stopped under a large glowing tree. She looked at Jack. "There's something we forgot." "What's that?" he asked. She smiled. "The arrow." Jack blinked. "What arrow?" "The poisoned one you took for me. It's still in the palace vault." Chuckled. "I should have kept it as a souvenir." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small glass box. Inside it was the arrowhead, cleaned and sealed. Jack raised an eyebrow. "You kept it?" "It reminds me that trust can begin in pain," she said. "And sometimes, danger leads to something better." He looked at her with quiet eyes. "Yeah, like finding each other," she nodded. "Exactly. And so, the galaxy remembered the man who took the poisoned arrow, not just as a soldier, not just as a hero, but as the one who helped a queen find her strength, her purpose, and, unexpectedly, her heart. Together, they wrote a new story, one where peace was possible, and love was the final surprise.